advisors, and we've been around since 2002. So we're just celebrating our 20th year in business. The company was started 20 years ago by Art Schooley, who some of you may know. He spent a lot of his career at Manulife Financial. And we deal with all kinds of financial advisors, whether it's at MFDA firms, IROC, insurance only. We have some group advisors, some accounting firms as well in that industry. So anyone kind of in that advisory business could be our client. We deal with advisors across Canada. So we've been able to see really what are the best practices for advisors from coast to coast and able to share that with our clients that we work with. Susan, I'll get you to go to the next slide. It's not just me, where I'm proud to be part of a team of 14 people that's ever expanding. I think actually now 15 people. So Kelly Maxwell is our marketing specialist. She's on the call today as well, running the webinar and making sure everything goes smoothly for us here today. And we have a new coach as well, who's not on this list, but I'll mention him because I think he is on the call, and his name is Stacey Arsenault, who, if any of you might know him, he's been in the industry for a long time, and most recently was at Sun Life in Atlantic Canada. So we'd love to welcome Stacey to our team. One of the things, just briefly, I'll mention about us at the Personal Coach is we really take a team approach with our clients, and we have specialists in different areas on our team. So we have our branding and marketing team who focus on that for advisors. We have an operations coach who focuses on best practices with admin teams for advisors. And we have Afsar Shah on our team as well, who is a succession planning and mergers and acquisition specialist as well. So we really feel that we have one of the most well-rounded teams in Canada when it comes to coaching advisors. I'll get you to go. And this is mainly what we do. We're customized one-on-one business coaching for financial advisors, and we're really focused on helping them get more confidence, focus, and freedom. And that could be time freedom or money freedom, depending on what they're looking for. So retirement planning, succession planning, these are all things that we typically talk about. And one of the things that we're very proud of is our results. So these are all the areas that we work on with advisors, from, again, mergers and acquisitions, succession planning, marketing, branding, how to be personally more effective. We have someone who's a specialist in technology as well. So really that full suite of practice management services. I'll get you to go to the next slide. And we're really proud of our results that we've had with advisors. So here are some highlights from our 2020 year. We're still in the midst of compiling for 2021, but even in a very tough environment in COVID, our clients were able to see an average increase in revenue of 19%, where typically the industry average is around 5 to 6%. So we're very proud of that, and some of the other things that we've been able to really help our advisors do to get to the next level. One of the things that we do, however, is if we have an area that we aren't experts in and don't practice in, is we like to develop partnerships with other suppliers in the financial industry or outside the financial industry that can bring value to our clients and by extension to your clients that you're dealing with. And that partnership is with us here today. One of those partnerships with Next Chapter Lifestyle Planning. And we have Susan and Marianne, who you're going to be hearing from coming up, telling us about their program with on retirement lifestyle planning. But first, before we get going, I want Kelly's going to put up a quick poll, and I just want you to think about this from your own perspective of your own retirement planning, of where you would say you are on your retirement journey. Because I'd like, when you're going through this webinar today, you can think of it from 2 points of view. You can think of it from you as an advisor and when you're going to be retiring, because, you know, as we all know, the average age of advisors keeps creeping up and up. I think it's now 58 years old is the average age of a financial advisor in the business. So, and we see it in our coaching, we're dealing a lot with succession planning for advisors, and this whole lifestyle component really does come into play a lot. So I'd love you to answer this question, you know, just to see where you are. And then the second application for what you're going to hear today from Susan is really an add-on to your financial planning that you're doing for your clients when they're looking at their own retirement, and how do we integrate that lifestyle component in with your clients. So Kelly, I don't know, we'll let some results come in and keep going, and we'll share those results with you as they come in. But I'd really now like to turn it over to Susan, and she'll give give an introduction of herself, and I'll let her continue on with the webinar today. So Susan, I'll turn it back to you.
Thank you so much, April, for that kind introduction. And I'm delighted to be here and partnering with the personal coach. I was a wealth advisor for the past 35 years, and I wish I'd known about the personal coach, because it would have been so wonderful to have someone help me in all those areas that you mentioned, April. I see that you've got some good results coming in now. Maybe you want to speak to that for a moment before we move on.
Sure. Yeah, that's interesting. So, and I think I wonder if these numbers line up with what you see from other webinars that you've done. So I'd be interested to hear that. So, and
Sure.
Interesting too, we have one person that has recently retired or planning to retire in the next year. And one of the things we do talk about when we're looking at succession planning for advisors is that the longer that you start thinking about it, the better. And I know, Susan, that was your own experience when you did your own succession plan as a financial advisor. And I'm working with one advisor right now in Edmonton who, he's retiring the end of June, but it's been a 5-year process of, what does that look like, and what is his successor? And he's been, gradually scaling back his responsibilities and turning over the management of the business to the succeeding advisor. So it's very fulfilling to see that happen.
Yeah.
So that's, I think, all I'm going to say about that. But
sure. It's so valid that people are listening today that are ready to retire, or getting ready to retire, but not yet retiring. And like you said, April, it was a 5-year journey for me, from identifying my successor to actually then transitioning the business, introducing him to all the clients, and having a smooth transition from both the client perspective as well as the team's perspective. So for those of you listening today, again, I wish I'd had the personal coach in my back pocket to help me with that transition. But anyway, I just want to tell you a little bit about my background. I did spend 35 years as an advisor. My main role was helping clients financially plan for their retirement and beyond, and manage their wealth. But what would happen was that I saw a lot of the clients with enough wealth to retire comfortably, but not do well as they transition. And a lot of them felt they could sort of go off to Florida and play golf and be happy. Others just didn't even have a clue of what they were going to do. Others thought they could spend money to make themselves happy. So I saw a lot of people that really didn't do that well in this transition. And I thought, as an advisor, I just thought my role was to make sure they had the money. And then I started realizing if I was going to truly walk the talk on being a holistic advisor, I needed to address this area, this non-financial side of their lives as well. So that's what prompted me to finally sell my practice at the end of 2019, and dedicate this next part of my career to the non-financial side of retirement lifestyle planning, both for clients and for advisors. So along the way, I did the FEA program, the Family Enterprise Advisor program, which was a wonderful asset and learning to be able to do this work. And then I also became a certified professional retirement coach, which is how I met my partner, Marianne Osher, who's with us today. And her background really has been a decade of relationship and retirement coaching, whereas my background, as you know, is mainly on the financial side. So together we started Next Chapter Lifestyle Advisors, and you'll hear more about our work. But on the right-hand side of your screen here is my new book, which is going to be coming out in the fall, 9 Steps to a Rich Life Retirement. I do have a chapter in it about being a holistic advisor. So when the book comes out, I encourage you to read that. Marianne is also an author, having written a book, Your Happiness Portfolio for Retirement. It's Not About the Money. And this whole journey for me started back in 2006 when I wrote my first book, The Rich Life, Managing Wealth and Purpose. So I've been interested in this connection between money and life purpose for a very long time. So I'm going to tell you a little bit today about what I see as the challenges that advisors face, as well as the opportunities, the solution to some of the challenges. a little bit about our program and how you benefit as well as your clients. So first, let's look at retirement issues. When I think of the wealth management industry, there's a lot of talk about it being holistic. Yet, I really believe that the industry is still highly focused on the money. So to be truly holistic, the wealth management industry has to adapt and adopt some new services to do this. Some of you may be familiar with Joseph Coughlin. He's the founder and director of MIT Age Lab, and he's a true thought leader in this space. He predicts that over the next few years, financial services firms will become effective educators about life after work, or they will cede that role to other innovators who will seize the public's imagination with a compelling vision that teaches them about what they will want and need for 1/3 of their adult lives. A little clue here to what the future holds. And then, I don't know about you, but my best clients were the baby boomers. And like many baby boomers alive today, they're going to live another 25 years after they finish their career or business. Like baby boomers have always had, they have high expectations for this new life stage. And as we're finding out, many of them have challenges adjusting. So let's step back and look at the client landscape for a moment. As I mentioned, people retiring today will live another 25 to 30 years. We have a longevity boom on our hands. They're going to stay the wealthiest demographic, either because their investments are going to grow, they're going to downsize their real estate. Some of them may still be inheriting money, or they still have businesses to sell. So we see the boomers as remaining the wealthiest demographic, and that asset transfer to the next generation with this age group is not going to happen for a while. Many of them have an unrealistic view of retirement. As I referenced, going to Florida and playing golf was what I heard day after day from my clients, which really isn't truly a realistic view of retirement at all. And because of that disconnect between what they think retirement is and what actually happens, many of them struggle to adjust to this new phase of life. And I put financial advisors in the same category. Advisors face the same challenges as their clients face. When Marianne and I did a webinar last year for the Exit Planning Institute in the US, most of the advisors there were also thinking about their own retirement as well as how they were going to help their clients with this transition. So in fact, we know from research done by Ameriprise Financial that 69% of retirees face challenges adjusting to this new life. Now that research done in 2015 hasn't been officially updated, but we know anecdotally that COVID has accelerated the struggles that people face. And you may even know people that have been super challenged as they've transitioned during this period. So I would say that now we're talking about a statistic of over 70% of people who transitioned into retirement face challenges adjusting. Another study that was done last year by AgeWave and Edward Jones, this is the 4 pillars of the new retirement, what a difference a year makes, found that 77% of those planning to retire wish there were more resources available to them to help them plan for an ideal retirement beyond just their finances. And this, on the AgeWave side, it's led by another one of our thought leaders in this space, Kem Dykewald, partnered with Edward Jones, who of course we know as a player in the financial services world. Invesco Consulting Group is an organization that I've always respected for the quality of their work. And in their study done a few years ago, they found that advisors are well positioned to help in this area. Over half of the respondents look to their financial advisor as their #1 source for retirement information of all types. So then we think about the role of being a financial advisor. I know I always struggled with, how do I keep enhancing my service offering? The fees are going up every year. How do I justify those fees now that I've done the financial plan and now that the portfolio is in good shape? And then how do I maintain the loyalty of those clients over the long term, as well as grow my practice? So when we look at the advisor landscape, we know that the competition is intensifying every day, and new technology is nipping away at the heels of what advisors have traditionally done. Investment products, insurance products are pretty much commoditized. It's very hard to make a case that your product is unique and different. So commoditization is a real risk right now, as is fee pressure. And we know what happens to commodity prices of all types. Prices come down. And we know that that fee pressure that's been underway for the last few years on product is now spilling over into the advisory world in the absence of value creation. At the same time, there's an increasing demand for financial planning and holistic advice by this very group I talked about earlier, the baby boomers. As an advisor, it's always a struggle to differentiate your value proposition so that you look and sound different than your competitors. I know when I go on advisor websites today, they all look and sound the same. So how do you truly differentiate yourself? And then how do you drive referrals and grow organically? Always something that's on the mind of every advisor. So putting that all together, this advisor landscape is complex. It is challenging. And there are many different aspects that are still changing. The good news, though, is that client non-financial conversations are increasing. And this study done a couple of years ago, Beyond Finance's Holistic Life Planning Trends Among Advisors, was done by Equitable. And what they found was that conversations like this will increase and are increasing. Emotional and mental well-being up by 75%. And again, the pandemic has just accelerated the need for people to talk about their state of mind and their mental health. And life goals has another conversation that's really increasing. The same study found that almost half of advisors had very few non-financial conversations with their clients, and only about 22% of advisors had the majority of their conversations about non-financial issues. So there's definitely room to change here. So when I put this whole picture together and I think about the needs of the wealth management industry, the best clients, the baby boomers, and the advisors and the challenges that they face, this convergence, in my mind, is what makes non-financial lifestyle planning a new and fast-growing differentiator for any forward-thinking holistic advisory firm or advisor. The work of Steve Gresham, the CEO of the Execution Projects, has found that on average, advisors only hold about half of their clients' assets, and that many clients will actually consolidate their assets in the next 10 years. I've been on both sides of that. I have lost assets when I was an advisor to someone else with a different or more attractive value proposition. And I've also been on the winning side of that consolidation where I had the trust and loyalty and obviously was doing work that the client appreciated and therefore moved all of their net worth to me. So retirement lifestyle planning is really how we see the solution to this. Let's think for a moment, though, about how retirement planning is currently done. I know when I was an advisor, the main thing I wanted to do was get the assets in, get them invested. And then after that, I would layer on the financial plan, and not everybody got a financial plan or needed one at that point. So that's really the current way that retirement planning is done. I prefer to turn this all upside down and take a more holistic approach, which then means that we start with the lifestyle plan. What are the plans? What are the goals? What are the things that that client is going to do in their retirement? And once the advisor knows that, then you build the financial plan. And the financial plan should then drive the investment plan. So that really is, as we move forward, the third step, not the first step in a holistic process. Now, the pinnacle of all this is what I call the rich life. And this is where, as I talk about in my book, The Rich Life, Managing Wealth and Purpose, it all comes together so that the client can truly live that rich life, that life that is, in fact, the balance between having wealth and personal fulfillment. So I believe we need a new model of retirement planning that dumps the old approach and takes on this new holistic approach, starting with the lifestyle plan. So what do we mean when we talk about retirement lifestyle planning? Marianne and I look at really as a process for creating a vision and an action plan for your life. So a lot of people think their bucket list is the plan. How often have I heard, well, I'm going to take a trip I'll read on those books on my bedside table, clean out the garage, babysit the grandkids a bit more. To me, those are all bucket list things. And leisure is only one area. The people that think that golf, boating, cottaging is going to be the be all and end all, really, we find that that wears thin in absence of other activities. So this lifestyle plan really addresses how you want your life to unfold and has activities in it that stimulate and motivate you in this next chapter of life. So clients derive tremendous benefits from doing retirement lifestyle planning. And after all, as advisors, aren't we in the business of helping people live their best life? So the first benefit that people receive is this enhanced sense of well-being. When we have a plan, when we know where we're going, we feel better about ourselves. Next, it helps us make a difference in this phase of life, perhaps through volunteer work, perhaps through charitable giving. It leads to stronger relationships, and I'll touch on that as we talk about some of the challenges that clients go through at this stage. Definitely has a positive impact on aging. I watched some of my clients who were moving on, rewiring, and going on to new things actually get younger as they aged. And I watched others that retired without a good plan go downhill pretty quickly. It definitely lowers the risk of depression and illness, which can also then, the depression can also lead to the phenomena that we know as gray divorce. And the illness can certainly lead to life-threatening conditions. We don't want any of our clients to suffer any of these. So the benefit is there for clients to experience once they have a retirement lifestyle plan. Now, I'm not just thinking of the clients here, but I'm thinking about my role as an advisor when I was one, and how you can benefit today from adopting this line of thinking. First thing is, not all advisors are thinking this way or doing this work. So it truly is a differentiator for your practice. The clients really know if all that you see when you look at them is a dollar sign on their forehead. At some level, they're aware that you just are caring about the money and not them. But when you do, you take the time to delve into their lifestyle plan and work with them on it, it shows them that you care a whole lot more about them than just the money. There's very little information out there for retirement age clients that isn't financial. So this is an opportunity to be that educator. Show your clients that you know something about this subject and that you appreciate them. And we see it as an opportunity to attract new prospects, people that are searching for how they're going to make this transition and who's going to help guide them through on this path. So we see that as prospecting and referral opportunities from existing clients, because after all, there's nothing to talk about financially, which is often an area that people don't want to talk to their friends about. But when it comes to talking about what their plans are for retirement, it's easier for them to talk to their friends, and therefore creates referral opportunities from existing clients. And I know you're busy, and I know what it's like to juggle so many things when you have a team to manage and prospecting to do, and you've got to follow the markets and do client reviews. It's a tall order. I know you're juggling a lot. So you might be thinking at this stage, well, how could I possibly add in something new? How could I offer a new service? Well, we've made it easy. You do not have to become the expert in this area. You can partner with us to provide this service with you, and you choose the level of engagement. You can either get deeply into it or just hand off the work to us. But however you choose to do it, you will be delivering value without having to spend a lot of time doing it. To me, that's good leverage in any business. So think of us as part of your either circle of collaboration, your centers of influence, just like some of you may be already working with the personal coach, or you're certainly probably working with other professionals like bankers, other financial planners, accountants and lawyers, estate planning professionals. We believe that we belong at the table with these other professionals, even though we're not dealing with the financial side of things. So let's delve a little deeper into retirement lifestyle planning and how you implement it into your practice. The first step is to adopt the mindset. Adopting the mindset really means that you understand the issues that your clients face and that you're prepared to proactively and with desire do something to help them. So some of you may already have the right mindset. I'm sure most of you do, or you wouldn't be on this webinar today. But just think of the hundreds and thousands of your competitors out there that haven't even broached this subject. Then it's about learning how to have a new kind of conversation, a different conversation than what the market's doing, what the economy's doing, even what the portfolio is all about. The third is to educate clients, and we have resources for this, to leverage our retirement planning tools and to partner with us as needed. These are the first steps really to implement retirement lifestyle planning into your practice. So let's delve a little deeper into the actual support tools. The first thing we have is a series of self-paced courses. These are recorded and you can take them anytime you want. You go through them in less than an hour. And I would say they're a great way for your team as well to be starting to learn about this area so they can walk the talk along with you. One of the flagships of our program is the Next Chapter Lifestyle Scorecard. For the past 20 years, when I was an advisor, I used a version of this called Your Financial Scorecard. I used it with clients and prospects alike, and it truly helped me to have a deeper conversation that I would have had if it was just, hi, how was your golf game? How was the weekend? And what are you going to do when you retire? Then we provide support to advisors. So anytime you have a question about retirement lifestyle planning, you can come to Marianne and me, and we're happy to speak with you. We also have a coaching opportunity for clients, for your clients, with our Ask a Retirement Coach service. This means that when you work with us and you have clients that have questions like, how do I know I'm ready to retire? How do you know where we should live in retirement? What if my spouse and I don't retire at the same time? These are non-financial questions that often keep people awake at night that we can talk to them about. And then also we put out resources because I mentioned before, it's very sparse what's out there in the marketplace now about retirement that isn't financial. So we try and fill that gap with the resources that we provide to clients. So let's talk for a moment about the Next Chapter Lifestyle Scorecard, which I think, as I mentioned, is one of the flagships of our program. It's a proprietary tool that I developed and adapted for this purpose. We provide training on how you can use it. And it's great to be customizable into the other discovery tools that you may already be using. You can certainly layer in aspects of it to what you already know works for you. And you can implement it yourself or ask one of us to facilitate a client or prospect conversation with you. So the scorecard really consists of 3 parts. The first part is the overview, the assessment of where you are today, your end-of-life goals, your 3-year goals, dangers, opportunities, strengths. And these are used with permission from the Strategic Coach program that I've been a part of for over the past 20 years. But they really are a wonderful way for you to take stock of where that client is today and get them doing the talking. Then we explore this whole concept of the rich life in retirement, which I view as living well, giving back, and leaving a legacy. And clients have very different ideas about what these 3 cornerstones mean to them, but it's a way to explore them in the scorecard. And then we introduce them to your happiness portfolio, which is the tool and the resource that we really use, the template we use to help people with this next chapter. So we're not asking you to become the answers, to have all the answers to this, but to really to start to have these kinds of conversations with your clients and prospects. When you introduce them to the happiness portfolio, you're introducing them to a concept and something that's going to help them provide framework for planning their next chapter. Just like when you're managing the client's portfolios, you have different asset classes and you try and diversify and balance their financial portfolio. Well, a happiness portfolio should also be diversified and balanced and have all these asset classes represented to some degree. Now, we don't expect you to get deep into a conversation about a client's emotional or mental well-being or even about their family and friends. But oftentimes when you talk to them about what their professional agenda is or not in retirement, it provides you important clues to then how to better write their financial plan and adapt it, and then ultimately what their investment portfolio should look like. So having a conversation about the professional aspect of a happiness portfolio is something worthwhile you can talk about as you review the scorecard with them. So in our scorecard training, we have a couple of case studies, and I'll just give you a very few highlights of the case study of Mary. She was a single woman business owner who inherited the business from her father and is now ready to sell it herself. You have the scorecard conversation with Mary, and it gives you the opportunity then to be the quarterback of her whole transition plan, because you're going to be talking about more than just her portfolio or her newfound wealth. Gives you then the opportunity to introduce her to the other members of your centers of influence or circle of collaboration. And she surely will need a good accountant, a good lawyer, and maybe some other professionals as she does this business transition. So there are other clues in the scorecard. She says when she retires that she wants to take a year-long world cruise. Last I checked, that's about 150,000 US dollars. Has that been reflected in her financial plan? She also says because she has no children that she wants to fund her nephew's education. Has she set up an RESP, or is there some other vehicle that you can help her with to fund that education? Finally, she says that her legacy is to donate her proceeds of her estate to a charity. And when I hear that, I think, wow, is there a better way to fund that than just to let the portfolio go to her estate? Perhaps there's an insurance policy here that can accomplish that. So you can see there are a lot of clues from doing the scorecard that help you then do a better financial plan. But it's also a relationship builder. There are ways that you can find to support Mary and get to know her better. One of her goals in retirement is to write a book about her father's building of the company and her career running it. So when she launches that book, why not say, Mary, let's have a reception in our office. You invite your friends, your colleagues, your business associates, and we'll host it in our office. What better way to show Mary that you really care about her, and also to get introductions in a lovely way to her network, to her colleagues, maybe suppliers, her family and friends. So these are just some of the clues that come out of having this kind of scorecard conversation. Now, we're also here to help you market this as part of your regular practice. We have an introductory presentation that you can give to your clients to show them that you're involved in more than just the money. We have a series of webinars that when you're part of our program, you get a discount on. We write monthly client articles that you can use as part of a newsletter or simply mail outs, part of a blog, or even the basis for a podcast if that's something that you do, but it provides you with content that's not related to the markets, the economy, portfolio management, and so on. And then as well, you can list us on your website as part of your external team of resources, showing that you have greater depth to your practice than just the portfolio or the planning side of it. So you may be wondering, well, what are these webinars all about? We have actually now a series of 5 client-facing webinars. 3 Secrets to a Happy Retirement is often the one that we start with. And then advisors will choose to do all the whole series, which we strongly recommend because it builds momentum with your following, or they may have specific interests. You may have specific types of clients that have an interest in one or more of these areas. So for couples, retirement and your relationship, how to keep retirement from ruining it. Retirement planning, the unique issues that women face, which is not just for women, but also the men in their life that want to understand what perhaps their partners are going through. Retirement challenges of high achievers and workaholics. This speaks directly to your senior executives, your professionals, and your business owners. And then your happiness portfolio, how to make retirement the best time of your life. So these are the 5 webinar topics. And to support you in putting on a successful webinar, we supply the turnkey webinar solution guide. So this has everything you need. You can hand this off to one of your team members to actually do everything except host it, which you will do on the day of the webinar. But the save the date, the client invitation, if you're going to use social media, which some advisors are using successfully through LinkedIn or Facebook ads, all the social media assets are there. checklists, host scripts, show guide, and hosting instructions. It's designed to be a turnkey guide that then you can pass off to someone else. If you don't have this kind of resource on your team, somebody that can handle this, we've had great experience with working with the personal coach and a member of their team working with the advisor to actually put these webinars on. It also brings expertise from the outside in that you can use then for future webinars, which I guess are going to be with us for a long time. Now, I'll shift gears a little bit here because you may find as you're working with clients that some clients will need more help. And they typically are people that have difficulty adjusting, that maybe they've tried retirement and it's not unfolding, their life isn't unfolding, it's not going as they expected. We also find that really successful people are challenged with being out of the limelight. The ones that have been used to being the go-to people, the leader, the guru of in their business or their profession. And when they are no longer in that role of being needed or wanted, sometimes they struggle very much with this transition. And then you probably know business owners or even other professionals that are just simply afraid to retire. And I know advisors fall into this category too, because they just don't know how they're going to fill up their days. So when you find you have clients or you in this situation, then what Marianne and I also offer is a client consulting program. So this is our proven proprietary process. It's based on the work that Marianne has been doing for the past decade, layered in with expertise that I've gained in the last few years through becoming a Success Finder practitioner. And we're not expecting you, the advisor, to pay for this service. It's actually better that the client has skin in the game and it participates from their own wallet. And one thing is for sure, we never discuss financial issues. So you don't have to be worried that we're going to meddle in your territory. In fact, some of the things that the clients talk about are going to be useful for them to come back to you to talk about as it affects their financial well-being. So clients that have been referred to us by their advisors that have gone through this consulting program usually go back to their advisor and say, thank you, I never knew this resource existed. Thank you for introducing me to Next Chapter, and I'm going to be living a better retirement as a result of it. So in recapping what we do, we believe that our work can help you differentiate yourself from other advisors, grow your practice, and drive new people, new referrals to you, as well as adding value to your existing client relationships. So if we've accomplished all that with our work, we're going to be very happy that we've helped you in these ways. So how do you become involved with us? Right now, you have the opportunity to become a charter member of our program. The cost is $150 a month, but we recommend that you pay annually because there's a lot of value that will accrue over time with being part of our program. And that annual fee, the $1,200, includes all the support tools that I've mentioned, the courses, the scorecard and the training, the retirement coaching for clients, the planning resources. In addition to that, the marketing side has the intro presentation, discounts on the webinars, articles that you can use for your blog, your newsletter, or simply as mailouts, and then the ability to put us on your website as part of your extended team. So I encourage you to think about becoming a first mover. There are 3 ways to go about this. First is to go to our website, nextchapterlifestyleadvisors.com/firstmover. If you'd like to put your contact info in the chat directed to hosts and panelists so no one else sees it, feel free to do that. Or if you want to schedule a call with me to talk further, you can email me at susan@nextchapterlifestyleadvisors.com. So I'll turn things back to you, April, and to see if there are any questions from our audience today or any questions that have popped up in your mind as we've gone through this.
Yeah, I would open it up. If anyone has any questions, please put them in the chat, and then we'll get those answered. And I have one question already that's come through, and that's just, if you have, I'm paraphrasing a little bit here, but if you haven't really been doing this in the past and talking about it yet, what's the best way for advisor to introduce this as now this is something that we're doing?
Yeah, so I think the best way is to, first of all, become a member of our program. But if you're not ready for that, simply book a call with me and I'll be happy to walk you through the how the strategy works. And actually, if you become a member, one of the first things we do is we book a strategy meeting. So that with all the different resources that we have, sometimes it's hard for advisors to know where they should start. So in that strategy meeting, what we do is we look at your practice and see where the best fit is. So for example, we have some clients that are advisors that are all over the webinars. That's the main thing they're doing, is using the webinars. We have other clients that are less interested in webinars, but they love the scorecard. They want to have that content, the resources and so on that we provide to them. But I think the best way to get started is with the courses, to just take a couple of hours, become familiar with this, make sure your mindset is in the right place, and then work with us to do the rest.
Yeah. Okay. And a question did come in. I don't know if you can see it there if you have your chat, but
Yes.
Max asking, can you give an example of a retirement pitfall that most people have no idea exists? I love that one.
Oh boy, there are a lot of pitfalls which people can fall into. The first one that I want to touch on is the loss of identity, because so often we think we are who our business card says we are. And when you no longer carry that business card, it's no longer the door opener, and therefore your identity is challenged. So people go from being a who's who to a who's she or a who's he overnight. So identity is one of them. I also would say that loss of purpose is another pitfall that clients fall into. When you're working, your work is your purpose, your main purpose. Yes, you have a purpose with family and spouses and so on, but you're so much a part of your day is consumed with this purpose of what you do professionally. So when that goes away, people often feel that they don't have a purpose in life anymore. And that's where the trouble sets in. Another one is another pitfall is the loss of structure. So when you're working, your days are punctuated by, the clock. It's 9 to 5, you have a lunch meeting, you have calls and meetings throughout the day. And when you're retired, unless you create your own structure, every day is the same as the next. You don't even have to set your alarm clock, which has its own perils. Cocktail hour can start at 4 instead of after the workday is done. And so it's a slippery slope without structure. And people often say when they don't have a plan and they don't have structure in their life, that they get to the end of the day and they say, well, I was busy, but I really don't know what I did or what I accomplished. So that's a pitfall is if unless you create your own structure, then you've pretty much fall into that trap of just every day flowing into the next and every day feeling like a Saturday.
Yeah. And when I was an advisor, I dealt with physicians and they had a really hard time retiring because their whole identity was wrapped up in being a doctor. So I would say if any of you on this call are dealing with physicians, this would be a great program for them. Yeah. And I see it with my advisor clients too. And even, some that I think of one that was in his early 50s and decided to semi-retire, and he sent me a message 1 week into his 3-week, even just trying to take 3 weeks off. And he said, can you send me some good books to read? Because I'm bored.
Yeah.
He couldn't even take a holiday for 3 weeks.
Yeah, I know the boredom. And have you ever been on a vacation that's just a few days too long and then you can't wait to get back to work? Retirement without a plan becomes that endless vacation that leads to. I think another pitfall on the relationship side is this, and we know from statistics, the evidence of gray divorce, April. Sadly, the rate of divorce for people over 50 has doubled in the last 20 years. And Marianne can tell you that when she was doing, she lived in Naples, Florida, and was doing relationship coaching, that one of the big catalysts for relationship issues was actually the fact that one or both people retired. And when you're on each other, COVID, I always say that COVID was the dress rehearsal for the retirement you don't want to live. Too much time together. So that's another one. So a life without purpose really leads to some of these pitfalls that we have to be aware of, because we don't want to fall into them and have to work ourselves out. But I see here we have some other questions that have come in.
So I'm not sure what diagram you mean, but maybe going back through the how to work through your purpose.
Yeah, so that was I think that was really the happiness portfolio diagram, which is on our website, and which you can, we can talk through a little bit more, but I'll take you back to that one because it is such an important piece of how we look at things. So I think if this was the question on purpose, you'll see that purpose is at the core of every facet of the happiness portfolio, these all 8 areas. So it doesn't just have to be a professional purpose, but what is my purpose in leisure? What is my purpose in self-development? Maybe I want to go back and take a course or learn something new. Of course, the purpose in health and aging, we all know that health is fundamental to our well-being and to our longevity. So I think this chart, this diagram of purpose, you'll see easily on our website. And if you want a copy of it, just let us know and we can send you a copy of it as well. Someone wrote in we marry, but not for lunch. Yeah. So in your wedding vows, you said, for better or for worse. I married you for better or for worse, but not for breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Yeah.
So.
And then there's another question came in the Q&A. I just don't want to miss, and then we'll go back to Jessica's question here. But someone in the Q&A asked, would you be able to do any of these talks live now, or have you entertained that thought?
Yes.
Like in person?
Yes, for sure. If geography permits. I'm based in Toronto. Marianne is based in Huntsville, Alabama. So it may be a little bit of a stretch there, but yes, we've already received requests for doing some of these presentations live, and the time is right. Yes.
Okay. And then Jessica's question, what age would you start talking to clients about these things? That's a good idea.
So this is really a good question, and one that there's no definitive answer. The other day, we actually did a consulting, 30-minute consulting with someone who was 10 years out from retirement. And the couple, both spouses were on the call together. And I applauded them. We applauded them for actually thinking about it at this stage. But it was way too early in their career, in their business, to actually get serious about it. So it is a good idea to think that you're going to be headed to this transition someday. But some clients that are really pre-planners, the ones that really want to revisit their financial plan and are very detailed about their lives, for them, 3 to 5 years out is not too far ahead. Then we have others, and we find this often with people with like an accelerated retirement, that maybe they were downsized, maybe they were forced to leave, maybe they're just so busy. I mean, CEOs on the cusp of retirement, too busy to even contemplate this. So when they're on the cusp of retirement, that is a mandatory time to get into it. Other people think they're part of that 33% that smooth and can sail smoothly into retirement. And some of them find that it's not all it's cracked up to be. So they fail at retirement, and then they come back saying, can I do this over again? So for them, it's not too late. So really, I guess there's no one best time, but when you start talking to your clients about this, it's going to become evident whether they have issues or concerns that are keeping them awake at night, or maybe some that have been dislocated from their roles, their jobs, and are coming to you kind of with deer in the headlights, like, what do I do now? So anywhere along that spectrum.
Okay. There's a couple more questions, but I'll just make a note that Kelly, you did put a link in the chat. If you could give your feedback on today, that's very appreciated. I know some of you might have to leave before the time is up. So there's a link in the chat there to provide some feedback. And I like this question from Mac about, should we really be recommending people retire if they're healthy? That's a whole other conversation.
Yep, that's a whole other conversation. I don't think it's up to the advisor to recommend someone to retirement. People tend to come to this either on their own or because they're forced. But I think it's a good idea for you to start to have these kinds of conversations to get people thinking about it. Because some people in their professions and careers can go on into their 80s. Like, fortunately, financial advisors can do that if they can keep up with technology and regulatory. But we recently worked with a dentist, and he would have loved to continue with his practice, but his hands just didn't work the same way. And I would say people in the medical field that maybe are experiencing burnout from what they've been through in the last few years, business owners they've got a great deal, they've got a you know, a buyer sitting there waiting to take over the business, but they're afraid to retire. So, I mean, bringing it up with them is paramount. And actually, we're starting to get interest from M&A firms who are saying, you know, they're getting deals blow up at the last minute because the sellers are saying, I don't want to do this
Change my
because
mind. Yeah.
what am I going to do?
And then we look, you know, when we are working with advisors, we look at the whole transition plan, not just retirement, right? It's yours, and it would be the same for business owners, but you need a contingency plan as part of that too. Like, and I think for any client probably needs that as well, right? So
yeah, I remember as an advisor, I started to get questions towards the latter part of my career.
Yeah.
Well, Susan, when are you retiring? And what if something happens to you? So I only felt it was responsible to put in place a hit by a bus plan. And that's what I did. It happened to be with the partner that bought my practice, but we had that plan in place well before I knew my date to exit. So it's a great.
And then, there's another question that came in the Q&A that Stanley wrote that's quite good. And just wondering the scorecard might be good to use earlier in their lifestyle. Do you have material modified for younger clients?
Actually, it wouldn't be too difficult to modify it. Because I think this kind of conversation, and when I go back to what I used called your financial scorecard, it was really just the same approach, but I didn't have the benefit of the happiness portfolio because that was Marianne's brainchild that she brought into it. Certainly the rich life thinking was there, and certainly the taking stock of where you are in your life right now. So if whoever asked that question wants to reach out to me, I can help work with them to adapt that scorecard for younger clients, because I think the conversations are valuable wherever you are along your journey.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, any last questions before we leave here? I don't see anything new coming in, but just put out one more call. Nope. Okay, well, thank you everyone again for attending, and thanks to Susan and Marianne again for sharing this with us. I think it's, you know, again, another very valuable piece that advisors should be talking to their clients about. And I know a couple of my clients have started doing some of the webinars and using some of the tools and have found it very valuable so far. So, and getting lots of really great feedback. So it's great to see.
Thanks,
And
April.
and I'll just get you to scroll back to the end, the very last slide of your presentation. There's a little bit of contact info for the personal coach as well. If you'd like to reach out and talk to any of us about practice management and overall coaching, our first step is we set up a complimentary consultation to learn more about your business. We do also have a scorecard that we get you to rate your practice on the 15 different areas that we coach on, and use that as a basis for discussion to see if there's, you know, things we can help you with on the practice side. So thanks again for joining us, and enjoy the rest of your day and the long weekend coming up.
Great. Thanks so much, April.